I like Jim Jordan. I'm excited to see that he is running for Speaker of the House. And oh boy, am I so excited to be let down by Jim Jordan. You know, because it's not about Jim. I do like the guy. I appreciate the work that he does in government accountability. We've had him on the show before. He's one of the few members of Congress I actually do like. But I think the institution is just broken and it's corrupt. And what's going to happen is Jim's going to be staring down the barrel of the MAGA Republican types, the anti-establishment forces, and the establishment machine. Nothing gets done. So it's not so much that in reality I'd be let down. Honestly, if Jim is just the Speaker of the House and it's rather obstructive, I suppose, I'll take it. And so, to be fair, Jim's a much better option than Kevin McCarthy. But I must stress, I really just feel like no matter who you get in, it's going to be nonsense. And it's because you've got too many shill Republicans who are going to negotiate with Democrats. It's because you've got people like Kevin McCarthy. He's a member of Congress. Even if you get a Jim Jordan in, how are you going to convince Kevin McCarthy not to side with Democrats? He was doing it backroom deals. So the big news right now, we got a bunch of stories here. Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, is calling for Matt Gaetz to be expelled. Jim Jordan confirms he is running, and Gaetz slams the Speaker pro tempore for sending everybody home for a week there in recess until next Tuesday. Now, my friends, this is all history in the making. Again, fan of Jim Jordan, actually kind of excited for this, but I do think no matter what ends up happening, we have a broken institution with 82% disapproval. I'm going to read you the story and we're going to go through what's currently happening. Trump is saying no, he will not accept a speakership. I thought that was obvious, even if some of the reporting was that he was floating the idea and the possibility. Perhaps he was. Now he's saying no. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com. Click the link in the description below. Go to Timcast IRL X Miami. This Friday, October 6th, 6 p.m., we will be live on stage with Patrick Bet-David, James O'Keefe, Matt Gaetz himself, and Luke Rutkowski. Ian Crossan will be there, plus a whole bunch of really awesome guests. And tickets are going fast. We didn't add that. That's like a normal thing they add because we started selling so many tickets. And said this in my earlier segment. I'll say it again. The work that Matt Gaetz is doing, he is doing the Lord's work up in D.C., challenging a corrupt machine at great personal and career professional risk to himself. And he is actually arguing to stay in D.C. to get the job done, which would mean he's not going to make it. Not going to make it to the event. I think it's in full transparency. We have to say it, but I really do believe that every single person who would come to this event would prefer that Matt Gaetz stay in D.C. and fight the good fight. And I have tremendous respect for him having done that. That being said, our understanding, having spoken with Matt and his team, as well as the latest news that they're telling everyone to go home, is that Matt will be there on Friday, as we've had this event scheduled and planned for a very, very long time. No one could have foreseen that Matt would win such a tremendous battle. But I will say this. I really do feel the most important thing for Matt is to keep up the fight in D.C. I have never been so inspired by a politician before, because the machine's been so corrupt and broken. And that's what I want to get into, because Newt Gingrich represents this in calling for Matt Gaetz' ouster. So if you want to see us this Friday, pick up your tickets now. Click the link in the description below. It is in, it's going to be in Miami. We're doing an elite members meetup earlier in the day. It's going to be epic. Alex Stein's going to be doing an opening set and intros. We've got a bunch of people. Ashley St. Clair will be there. Really, really excited for this. And I'll just stress, it is an honor and a privilege, and I very, very much hope that Matt Gaetz can make it to the event. But I totally understand, with the unprecedented historical victories that he is working on in D.C., if he can't make it, it is what it is. It is what it is. We got James O'Keefe, we got Patrick Bet-David, and a ton of other people who will be speaking, people that you are big fans of, who have been on the show, and I'm really excited for this. Here's the latest news in the ongoing historical. So I keep saying that because this is the first time a speaker has been removed. This is impeachment and conviction all in one. Now, of course, the Democrats should be celebrating, but they're not really. It's just the Republicans are in shambles. This is absurd. Blah blah blah. It's funny that it's people like me that are celebrating substantially more than the Democrats, who were in line with these 8 Republican rebels, I guess you'd call it. And the big news is Jordan replied yes when asked if he was running for speaker, and that is absolutely amazing. He had just talked to the House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, also a fan of Scalise. I don't think any of these guys are perfect. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene was acting in defense of McCarthy. Not a fan of that. But I have just enough respect for these members that I can say there's a handful that I like. But it seems like Matt Gaetz and these other 7 are the only ones who are actually fighting the good fight. The House is essentially paralyzed while it lacks a speaker following McCarthy's historic ousting and subsequent announcement that he will not run to reclaim the gavel. Why would he? They just voted him out. He's not going to win. It's pointless. He shouldn't have run in the first place. House Republicans are slated to hear from speaker candidates at a forum next Tuesday, setting up the next possible House-wide speaker vote Wednesday, October 11th, which I will stress, Matt Gaetz is actually slamming the speaker pro tempore. Gaetz knocks Speaker Pro Tem for sending lawmakers home to cry for a week. And look, I'm going to stress this. We've been working on this event for like a year. It is tremendously difficult. We've had to do there's just so much stuff behind the scenes that has been a stressful nightmare in getting this event going. It's not so simple. People, you don't realize we don't just call the venue and say, hey, we'll be there. We have to file paperwork with the state. There's a lot of stuff involved. Legal stuff, insurance stuff, employment, sending people back and forth, finding the venues, booking the speakers, tremendous amount of work. If Matt does what needs to be done and secures Congress staying in session so that they can figure this out, it means he's not at our event. But you know what? The work he's doing is substantially more important than this event. But it looks like, despite his criticisms, they're sending everybody home. This does not mean that Matt is going home. He may stick around D.C. and fight the good fight. Quote, I do have to offer some pretty sharp criticism of the new pro tem of the House, Patrick McHenry. Gaetz said on Newsmax with Eric Bolling, we met tonight and he sent us home until Tuesday of next week. We should be here tomorrow working to elect a new speaker, getting onto our appropriations bills and engaging in a negotiation with the Senate to get the government funded. But instead, these people got to go home and cry for a week. They've got to go do a week of hand-wringing and bedwetting over the fact that Kevin McCarthy isn't speaker anymore. This institution is about more than one man. They keep trying to smear him. Let me show you this story and explain to you why I don't like Republicans. I've never been a Republican, and there's only a small handful of people that I like. Newt Gingrich calls for GOP to expel Matt Gaetz for being an anti-Republican and slams his childish behavior. As I've been stating, we've booked an event. We originally had Don Jr., Patrick Bet David, and Matt Gaetz, and Don had a scheduling issue. Something came up, and totally respect it. Don Jr. is doing very important work as well. Obviously, the son of the former president and future president. As of right now, I know the left is going to go nuts with that one. And Matt Gaetz has every opportunity to do a victory lap and say, haha, look what I've done. If this was really about brand building, if this was really about investigations or whatever, he absolutely would say, yes, we got to go home, come up on stage and give a bow to all of these people at this theater and on stream and talk about all the great work he's doing. Instead, Matt Gaetz is actually insisting on staying and doing their jobs. This is the issue that I have with Congress. One of the issues. Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the reasons I like her, she brought this up to us. She said when she gets into office, she goes to Congress and finds like 8 Democrats and 8 Republicans and some guy she doesn't know, who's not the speaker, introducing bills, and this is how they get passed. The guy goes, we have a bill to like fund this. And the Democrats are like, yay, and the Republicans are like, nay. And it's like, Democrats get it. Bang, next. No objections. Nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention. So what did they do? Freedom Caucus individuals, anti-establishment forces, when they would say, we have this bill, Marjorie would go, floor vote, which means every member has to now come in and they have to roll call. Are you in favor? Are you in favor? Are you in favor? And they hated it because they don't want to do their jobs. So you know what? I stand by Matt Gaetz. You know, I understand. You know, I bring it up because we're 2 days out from this event we've planned with Matt. But, you know, I've got people hitting me up being like, it's a historic moment and Matt needs to get the job done. He is leading this tremendous battle in D.C. And for this, Newt Gingrich, your neocon establishment, GOP, whatever, is saying to expel him. It's why I've never been a Republican. It's why I don't like the Republican Party. I don't like the Democratic Party either, but this explains it right now. All of these people who are whinging and crying about what Matt Gaetz did by filing a motion to vacate, by having negotiated these provisions in the first place. If Kevin McCarthy breaks his word, which he did, why is it Matt Gaetz's fault? I tell you this, let's expel McCarthy for lying to other members of Congress so he could get elected. He broke his word. He said he wasn't going to do these bills. He wasn't going to cut backroom deals. They were going to work to stop the omnibus spending. It was a major issue. And McCarthy said, okay, I'll give you this. And you know what McCarthy was thinking, in my opinion? He was thinking, sure, I'll tell them whatever they want to hear. They don't have the balls to file to remove me because it would be career suicide. Instead, Matt Gaetz stood up and said, you want to play ball, we'll play ball. And now McCarthy, who broke his word and cut a backroom deal to fund Ukraine, is crying about it. And Newt Gingrich wants Gaetz expelled? How about this? Kevin McCarthy did not have the balls to actually negotiate in good faith with members of the Republican Party who helped secure a majority. And if he's going to cut these backroom deals, there may as well not be a majority at all. So who should be expelled? How about the guy who broke his word and started the crisis? Let me tell you, my friends, the buck stops with the boss. Okay? If you run a company, if you're the boss and one of your staff members makes a mistake, it's your fault. Oh, no, sure. You can come down and go to your staff member and say, hey, look, you made a mistake. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. I'll put it this way. When I was a kid, we lived on the other side of the tracks from my high school. I went to high school for a couple months, I think it was, like 2 or 3 months. And I remember one day I was late. And so they gave me a detention, to which I ignored. So they gave me a Saturday detention, to which I ignored. And then apparently they forgot about it. But I remember talking to my dad, and I said, it's not my fault there was a train. And he goes, yes, it is. You know the tracks are there. The trains come. You got to leave early enough so they don't get stopped by the train. And that's an important lesson I learned. I knew the obstacles before me. And I took a risk. I said, if I leave right now, I'll be fine. There's probably not going to be a train. And there was, and I was late. The lesson learned, the variables set before you, whether you know about them or not, it is your fault if you don't prepare and don't plan ahead. Failure to plan is planning for failure. Kevin McCarthy is the boss. He's the speaker. He's looking at all of the pieces in Congress, and he should know breaking his word with people who already threatened to remove him would result in this. And he said, I'm going to call your bluff. And unfortunately for him, it wasn't a bluff. Matt Gaetz said, done. You want to play ball? We'll play ball. So who's at fault? Kevin McCarthy is. No question. None. I don't see why they're trying to blame Matt Gaetz for a problem Kevin McCarthy created by breaking his word. Matt Gaetz, a single member of Congress, said, here are my terms. Kevin McCarthy said, fine, deal. Kevin McCarthy then broke his word. This is the Republican Party, my friends. This is why Speaker of the House from 95 to 99, I never liked Republicans. Still don't. There's only a handful of individuals I like. Here we go. Gingrich 80 was Speaker. He has called for Matt Gaetz to be expelled from the Republican Party for ousting McCarthy, saying he's describing Gaetz as egotistical, incompetent, childish, vain, and an embarrassment to their side. Yeah, this is what we get. This is the old, archaic way of running a corrupt machine to just kick the can down the road. Gaetz on Monday introduced legislation, a motion to remove McCarthy, which we know. Rep. Matt Gaetz is an anti-Republican who has become actively destructive to the conservative movement. The conservative movement. I'm 37. I'm 37 years old. Newt Gingrich is 80. My friend, you did your job. A lot of people appreciate what you did. There was a period where Republicans hadn't held Congress for, like 40 years. And then Gingrich and many came in and they made a change. They did. Something different happened. And I've never been a fan of how they operate. Never. Growing up, don't care. Now we are witnessing the rise of a new generation. People like Matt Gaetz, who, he's in his, what is he, 40? We're not young. We are now the adults who must be working to inherit this system. The only thing Newt Gingrich should be saying is he should be laughing. If it were me and I was 80 and this is what was going down, I'd laugh and I'd be like, it's the next generation that inherit everything. And it's going to be up to them. It really is. My view on all of this stuff is that we have to inspire young people and indoctrinate them to American values, not the woke leftist values. People on the right are like, indoctrination is bad. Well, woke indoctrination is bad. But you want your kids indoctrinated to the values of freedom and meritocracy and personal responsibility. And responsibility to your nation and your community. It's just, there's got to be a good balance of freedom. And, I'm not a big fan of just being loyal to government for the sake of it. I think that there is a community responsibility we all have. When I look at this, Newt Gingrich complaining about Matt Gaetz, it's a failure of Newt Gingrich. It really is. What did he cultivate when he was leading the charge? That's it, man. Newt Gingrich as Speaker and in the Republican Party helped foment everything around him. And now he complains about it. In my view, I've told this story a million times, right? When I was a kid growing up skateboarding, first, when I was a little kid, like everybody wore baggy pants. And then when I started skating, the cool thing was to wear skin tight jeans, punk rock, Hesh, etc. And so, I'm 14, 15, and we all get our stretch jeans that are super tight to skate in. And, the reality for me is that it was easier to see and feel the skateboard. And I get these older dudes who are wearing big baggy jeans. They all made fun of me and my friends. They talked about how it's how lame and how stupid we looked and all that stuff. We didn't care. We were like, you're losers. But these guys, at one point, were the cool dudes. When I got a little older, I noticed that a bunch of people, it became a trend to wear Dickies, slacks, not jeans, and they didn't go all the way down to your shoes. So we'd call that flooding when your pants were not, long enough. And then I see a bunch of people I know, my age, being like, look how cringe that is. They're such losers. And I was like, man, older dudes made fun of us wearing baggy jeans, and now you're making fun of the younger dudes for wearing their pants. I don't care, bro. That's what they like. That's what they think is cool. It's on them. Same thing with scooting. People don't like scooters. And I'm like, dude, let the kids have fun, and they're going to figure out their world. If they do, if you're looking at Matt Gaetz and complaining about it, what did you do to help cultivate a younger generation of conservatives and anti-establishment forces to make a change? Or more importantly, did you cultivate corruption in the machine and refuse to weed it out, which led to upstarts like Matt Gaetz and many others to challenge the system and say no? So that's it. Cry all you want about it, dude. Cry all you want. I don't care. It's your fault. It is. Everything that we do now, the next step is going to be the next generation as they inherit power. I'm 37, and I think Matt's 40. So you've got people who are around this age, entering our 40s or in our 40s. Millennials are starting to take over. We're starting to become CEOs. We're starting to take over Congress. You are going to see millennials run for president even. That's right. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a millennial. Same age as me, a little bit older. A couple months, I think. You're going to start seeing, he's 38 now. You're going to start seeing us. And everything you see from us is a result of what you built and how you ran this country. And so Newt Gingrich, I don't believe did enough to challenge the machine and inspire young people to operate the way he wants things to operate. No. Now he's complaining that there are people who are upset with how things are running and are saying we want something different. Trump rules out Speaker run as GOP floats him as McCarthy replacement. It was too good to be true. Yeah, everybody. It was too good to be true. I know you all wanted a Speaker Donald Trump, but it will not be the case. And as of right now, it looks like we're not going to have anything until Tuesday. But Nancy Pelosi was evicted. That was fun. The big news is we've got, like a month left before a government shutdown. And that's bad news for some people. A lot of people aren't going to get their paychecks. I'm sorry. I'm not going to shed a tear for government employees. I understand what Matt is saying. Matt was saying that he doesn't want the government to shut down because it means people go without pay. It means benefits can be at risk. It's not a good thing. But we have to get control of spending because we are spending into oblivion. We are stripping people of their savings. It is driving massive inflation. All of the presidents of yesterday and before bear responsibility, at least in the last 30 years or so. It has been a long time where presidents have just kept spending, driving up the deficit, screwing up inflation, and it's made things worse in a lot of ways. But the argument they always make is we can't let the system break. Now, you know what I see here? In Congress, it is easier to kick the can down the road. When I was a kid, my parents also told me about another scenario we end up seeing. Roads. Yeah. What had happened was there was a road that needed to be rebuilt. And the politician who got in said, we're gonna get it done ahead of schedule and under budget. And they were all excited. And essentially what happens is inferior products are used and the road will only last for a couple of years, but long enough for that politician to get out of office, to finish their term or seek re-election. So they say before election, we're going to get these potholes fixed. They get elected and they say, I fulfilled my promise. Everyone cheers. And then a couple of years later, when they're retiring or when before their re-election, the road starts crumbling again. Instead, what they could do is they could say, we're going to make a road that lasts 25 years, but it's very expensive. And then everyone complains about it. So this is the game they play. They say short-term gains, long-term losses, because that's how you win elections. It's funny, right? We want elections. We want people to be represented in a constitutional republic by people who have terms. But the end result is this. This is why a lot of people make the argument for longer terms or even for autocracy or monarchy. Not a fan. Disagree. You get way worse things. Imagine having a politician who is crooked and evil forever. Not good. The problem we have now is because of the election cycle, you get nothing in off years, and then the world is ending on presidential election years. Now, I do think we are facing unprecedented times and things are getting particularly bad. 2020 was crazy, and we've gotten a bunch of crazy things since then. Crime is getting really bad. I got a video coming up at 4 p.m. about this, but I do think right now we are facing victory. Doesn't mean we're going to win tomorrow or even next year or even in 4 years. I'm just looking at people standing up to this corrupt machine, and maybe it just means a reform period. I would accept that, and I hope it happens. So shout out to Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan. You know what? I do hope Jim wins, although I do feel like we'll end up being disappointed. There's a reason why I don't think Matt Gaetz is even running for speaker, because it's an impossible job. I can respect that, but I can't respect Kevin McCarthy breaking his word. Kevin McCarthy should have come out and given a speech and said, I gave a promise to Republicans that would they vote for me, I will not negotiate backroom deals. This means that we have to come to an agreement on the Republican side and figure out what that compromise is. Instead, backroom deal, continuing resolution. Not okay with that. It's Kevin's fault. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.